Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I'm Rachel. I have my coffee, I have my books and reviews. Don't have don't have any rain that I'm aware of, but today is oh goodness. Well, this is what I get for drinking coffee. But today is July 4th, so I don't know when you'll be seeing this, but I hope your 4th was magical anyways, no matter what you did. For me, I went to the pool for about 2.5 hours before it got too loud. Then I left, made some cookies so I can bring them over to a friend's house later, and am now just relaxing and I don't want to say killing time, but enjoying my time of not being at work today. But with all of that being said, let's dive into the book today of The Golden Age of Magic. It is by Luanne G. Smith. Now, I didn't realize this and I was hopeful, but it is Golden Age of Magic #1. So when I read the book on my e-reader, which was the NetGalley app, it didn't reference that this was a book #1. But the way it gets, the way it leaves off does feel as though there could be more. So I am kind of glad to know that we could potentially see more magic in the future. So here we go with the summary. All right. Against the backdrop of 1920s Hollywood, a young fairy godmother on a mission is embroiled in malicious magic, mystery, and murder in a thrilling historical fantasy by the best-selling author of The Vine Witch. Celeste is about to become one of the 13 Fée Gardiennes, a centuries-old sisterhood of fairy godmothers. To be granted full status, she must usher her first protégé onto their path of destiny. Where better to find a starry-eyed ward than in the land of magic and illusion called Hollywood? It's 1927. The movie-making business is booming when Celeste befriends a young studio seamstress whose dreams outshine everyone else's. Rose is talented and underappreciated and could use some enchanted intervention in her life. Plans proceed swimmingly, and Celeste even catches the eye of a handsome producer. But after a series of unexplained accidents on the studio lot stir up rumors of a curse, Celeste fears the trouble is more personal. The spiteful meddling. Goodness, I need to read better. The spiteful meddling of a fellow guardian out to thwart Celeste's success. But the sabotage turns sinister when a starlet is murdered and it's Rose who stands accused. As vengeance, dark magic, and betrayal wreak havoc, Celeste must come into her full power to save her innocent protégé and secure her own future in a cherished, ancient, and now threatened sisterhood. So it says it's 248 pages in the Kindle edition. I do think my e-reader was probably actually, you know what, I take that back. I don't know how many pages it was on my e-reader because I audiobooked this, which I flew through very quickly, which I do think it was a little under 8 hours. So that makes sense for it being about 248 pages. And Leo's making his little chirps at me, which is so adorable. But it's first published July 1st of 2025. So by the time I'm recording this and probably also releasing it same day, it will be only a few days after release date. But when I ran across Luanne G. Smith's name, I realized that I think I've picked up the Ravenspell book before, but I'm also drawing a blank as to whether I finished it or if I just downloaded it onto my Audible and never got around to actually listening. Every once in a while that happens because my NetGalley e-reader will be full of audiobooks that I need to finish over there. So some of my to-be-reads in my Audible account will sit there for a little bit of time. Like currently I also have a couple that have like a teddy bear as a hero and a couple of I think RPGs that sound pretty good. But for this one, I thought it was really cute. Now, I think this is I don't want to say this is my first, but I like when we kind of explore the fairy godmother realm. And I do think we have kind of, we usually go into this magic thing with like, everybody's got like these boundless energies of magic or what have you. But I don't know if I've lately, or just in my recent memory, remember picking up anything that was like 1920s golden age of Hollywood, like the guilt, the glam. Now I do want to mention that they said that it seems as though most of the movies at this time were maybe silent films. They talk about the talkies, which will be the movies that release, of course, where people are talking. But it seems as though this studio is usually a pretty good studio, but even before Celeste appears and arrives in Hollywood, she learns that the studio has been plagued with some, I guess, incidents which seem to, I guess, suggest that they're possibly cursed. Who knows? Now, here's the thing, and we'll start off first and foremost. Celeste and her fellow Fae Guardian are mainly from Europe slash, like, well, at this particular time when we first meet them at the beginning of this book, they're in France, and I do believe Paris specifically. Well, Celeste has kind of crossed ways with another one of the Fae Guardian. Now, this other Fae Guardian, though a little blunt and brusque, and you could probably think of her more of as like maybe an evil or meddlesome fairy godmother, you can also think of her very much like Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Well, apparently Celeste was invited to a christening, and the other Fae Guardian showed up because she had dated the guy before, and I guess her heart got broken, and she tried to curse the baby so the baby would only live till like they were 12. Well, Celeste, in her abilities, cast a counter curse that the girl would suffer from narcolepsy for a good portion of her life, but would not die at the age of 12. So she was able to undo some of it, but not all of it. So she's brought aside after this incident, and by the kind of the head of their order, kind of the oldest of their order. And Doré, she is really quite a pretty cool person, but she is kind of like the grandmother of the group, where everybody's kind of a fairy godmother. Doré is the oldest of their group. And anyway, sorry. I just happened to read this line that said, I sat there seriously trying to think who an infamous painter could even be. And I wonder, because at the time in the book, anyway, sorry. Yeah. All right. I think the person figured it out, because I didn't read the comments until just now, but I thought there was a reference to a painter in here, and I was like, yeah, I thought it was this particular painter. That person figured it out. Anyway, back to Doré and who has had proteges in the past. Now, fairy godmothers, they don't have to specialize in anything specifically. It does seem as though some tend to pick up proteges who are writers or musicians and things of that nature. Doré at this particular time brings Celeste to the theater, and there's a particular dancer. And the thing is, with these fairy godmothers, is these stars that they are able to bring forward through their through the proteges, I guess, passion for whatever they're trying to follow, will help boost them into whatever stardom they will follow. However, there will ultimately be a fall for the protege. Like, their star will burn out. So, maybe a movie star perhaps would fade from screen. Like, he would have some really great films, or she would have some really fantastic films and be a worldwide known face or name. But then would maybe fall on hard times or age out, so to speak, as Hollywood sometimes does, and they would lose their luster. So a lot of this happens with proteges. So Doré is kind of takes Celeste to the theater. They go see this dancer, but Doré tells Celeste at this time, she's like, "Hey, think it's a good idea if you leave, perhaps the country, maybe go to America, and try your hand at a protege there. I'm not sure what this other, perhaps angry fairy godmother, Fée Gardienne, is specifically thinking of how she's going to retaliate. So I think it's best if you maybe go over there." Well, Celeste, she's a little overwhelmed. She's like, "I've never left the country," or like she's not really like she's never left Europe, so to speak. So she's kind of like, England, Europe. It seems as though those particular areas are kind of what she knows. So, fast forward, Celeste gets the idea based on this postcard that she has of going to Hollywood. And she gets there and just happens to, stumble across this guy named Nick. And his name is Nick West. He seems to be either a producer or an owner or what have you of a studio, but she doesn't know that at the time. And she's pretty, she's kind of sassy, but Nick seems to be intrigued by her. She thinks he's pretty good looking. Well, she feels that pull of a potential protege. But what happens a little bit before that is she's so overwhelmed. Oh yeah, this is why she finds Nick. She's so overwhelmed by all of the wishes in people's minds and hearts of how they hope to succeed in Hollywood. I want to be the best dancer. I want to be the next big actress. I want. And Celeste kind of gets completely overwhelmed with that and ends up passing out. She wakes up. Nick is there. Never met this man before, but he picks her up, brings her into the studio, which is where she does figure out her ability just a little bit more. Again, she's she's not quite a full-fledged Fée Gardienne. She's got to finish, I guess, getting her first protege on their star path. She feels a tug, and so she follows that tug and runs across Rose, the seamstress with a dream for design and fashion. And pretty quickly, Celeste realizes, I think this is the person that I want to help, because what they want is truly their heart's desire. It's not something that's really, frivolous or the same thing everybody else wants. It's a little bit different. She wants to be a fashion designer and she wants to make dresses, and she's a really good seamstress. The other seamstresses in the studio, sewing pool, seem to be jealous of her abilities, and she does take extra amounts of time in order to complete certain projects because she just wants them to be perfect. Biggest issue is that the head costume designer, Jacoby, he seems also jealous of Rose's ability, and the head or lead actress loves Rose's dresses and the boots that she paints and things of that nature. So this lead actress feels like she's going to try to give Rose that nudge into the Hollywood realm. And this is kind of where things start to go a little downhill. Things start to go wrong for Rose and Celeste. It is as though some malevolent force is actually trying to interfere with what Celeste is trying to do. She feels as though the abilities that she has, her fairy godmother abilities, should be able to keep Rose on the right path, but it's like somebody keeps sweeping the rug out from under them. And so Rose gets accused of the starlet's murder. And it was the same starlet who had, in a previous session, invited the girls to a party. They went to the party, but found that the starlet has this dark force around her and is kind of talking bad about the dress that she's wearing that Rose designed. And the starlet's even kind of surprised because she's like, that's not me at all. That's that's way out of character for myself. So anyway, so let's just say from there, things start to break bad, so to speak, and now we have the malevolent force that we have to face off. Is it the other Fey Guardian trying to seek revenge? I don't know, but I do. I'm not going to tell you. I think you need to find out for yourself, because it's a cute, cozy fantasy. Now, they call it historical fiction, and I guess perhaps. I mean, I've lived in Hollywood. I know how fantastical it can be. And I think from outsiders looking in, it potentially could look a lot more shiny and awesome than it really is. It's a nice place to visit. If you want to take a vacation, fine. I just don't really recommend living there. My intent when I lived there was not to be a starlet. I had no intention of that. My work job took me there, which was fine, but I think my favorite thing was Disneyland, because I could go whenever I wanted. I got an annual pass, but also being a resident of Southern California, you got like discounted tickets as well. But anyway, got off track just a little bit there on the end, but I am going to leave you there with these fairly likable characters. Now, I have questions about what we're going to resolve in the next book, because one, I need to know more about this Nick situation, because we left a lot of that like pending. And yeah, so I think that's one of the things that I would like to find out more about. I think I want to see Celeste herself figure out her life here in Hollywood and not just use her magic to kind of skate by and help other people. I want Celeste herself to actually, build a life. And so I'm hoping that we get to see that. But yeah, I think with all of that being said, I was going to kind of I was looking through some of these individuals, like just comments. This one particular person, really, she thought everyone knew about Doré's first protege. He was infamous. Several of the artist's paintings hung in the Musée d'Orsay for all to admire. And he's gone now. Now, that's a quote from the book. And this person references. And, but there's a reference to when they were in the Moulin de Galets, I think is something like that. And I was like, oh, that's Renoir. Because when I was in high school, I think I had to do like my final paper on an artist. And we were given a collection of them. And I really was drawn to Renoirs. And I didn't pick that particular painting, but I had that one as an option. But that's what it made me think of. Now, I don't know why the author called him infamous. I don't remember that from that many years ago, what his history was, or whether he lived in a little bit of infamy. But I like Renoir's work, and I really liked looking at it while I was in Chicago, because I feel like there were quite a few of his works there as well. But apparently he might have been one of Doré's proteges. But I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let you all decide if it sounds like something that this might be up your alley. It was for me, so I will pick up the next one in the series. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you will. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I'll see you guys on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.